When Wisconsin lawmakers return to Madison in January, their immediate concern will be putting Wisconsin's economy in a position to prosper at a time when the national economy is suffering.
Some of the concerns when you talk to business people in Wisconsin are very specific about things that I think we can have an impact on, and you know, it can be anything from the level of red tape and the bureaucracy continuing to overregulate. Certainly it's training, which we have a lot invested in through the educational system, and specifically tech colleges and to some extent the UW system. And then ultimately allowing local levels of economic development to be able to have the tools that they need. And you know, probably the one that continues to be discussed are TIF districts. Just yesterday we had a request for changes to TIF that ultimately I think will help many of these either local economic development corporations or these consortiums to work through that. And so I think there are things that we can have a very significant impact on at the local level, despite what's happening in national politics and what's going on in D.C. right now. I feel pretty good about kind of where we're at.
The legislature will be looking for suggestions from the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, the public-private partnership that replaced the Department of Commerce.
We need the WEDC to really kind of crank things up. And I know there's been a lot of criticism of kind of some of the loans, which is the downside. But the upside is that they're making the loans and they're being very effective in that portion of their business. So I'm optimistic that the WEDC can really help us in coming to the legislature and saying, hey, here's some bills we think will have a direct effect on the economy and job creation.
At the top of many lawmakers' minds, passing a new mining bill that would make iron mining in northern Wisconsin feasible.
I think you'd be hard-pressed to find any legislator that says current statute is acceptable. However, there's a million different ways to design a mining bill, and you know, we have the differences. Last session we did have a vote. We have a number of legislators that are on record supporting 426, and because of that, you know, we have a little bit different starting point this time, but I think it's another bill that certainly is going to be high profile this session.
Senate Majority Leader Fitzgerald says the pieces are in place.
I think what I'm doing is going back and talking to the players involved from last time, kind of picking their brain, and I have one kind of fortunate change, and that is that Tom Tiffany, Senator Tiffany from the 12th District, was elected and has now moved over to the Senate. And Tom did a lot of work in the Assembly last session on the mining bill. So I kind of have somebody coming into our caucus that understands the provisions and the workings of the bill. And because of that, the standing committee that I've given him the chairmanship of is includes mining. So I'm kind of seeing how Tom wants to tackle this. And then some other new members of the caucus, you know, Senator Gudex in the 18th District, who I think will, who ran on that issue and will be a huge advocate for it. So we've got, I think, there's definitely some changes from where we were last session, but I still feel very confident that we're going to be able to get that done.
If the legislature does not finish the job on mining before the spring, it will have to compete with the demands of writing a new budget.
There's always a willingness and an eagerness to work on separate pieces of legislation at the same time the budget's going on, but oftentimes it's difficult because it just dominates kind of the legislative landscape. You've probably got a couple days in January on the floor, maybe 2 or 3 in February, and then you're into March. You know, it's about that time that the Finance Committee starts really digging into the budget. So, you know, I'd like to see something get done this spring on the bill itself, that's for sure.
Republicans should be able to accomplish much of their agenda in the next session. They hold a 3-seat majority in the Senate and a 19-seat majority in the Assembly. For the MacIver Institute, I'm Bill Osmolsky.